got this bike in early 2017. Yeah, I rode with it pretty much bone stock for like several months, just kind of like feeling it out, figuring out what worked, what didn't work. But when I first got this bike, it was, you know, a little bit of single track and then a lot of like moto and kind of just free riding stuff. So I was kind of all over the place and didn't really have a specific direction. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that you'll see, I have kind of gone more now towards an off-road style bike, but yeah, I figured I'd just kind of go through. That'll be that. If I had to go back to a completely bone stock bike, this would be the one thing, like no compromise that I'm doing to my bike, because I'm putting another set of these flex bars on. I broke my wrist in 2016. I was getting just a lot of wrist pain. And when I put these on, dude, it was night and day. It was so good for the wrist pain, but then just for like fatigue and arm pump, like when I ride other people's bikes, it is so stiff, I can't believe it. And yeah, these are my single favorite things ever. I love them. I got the Cycra handguards on there. They're these rebound handguards, so they kind of fold out. Yeah, I don't run the wraparounds. I prefer the flags. I got the Zeta, don't know how to say it, unbreakable levers. I run them a little bit in, and I also do run Teflon on my clamps. So kind of just trying to do whatever I can to prevent breaking of levers. This bike has been dropped and thrown and all sorts of stuff, and these things are like just so awesome. After maybe about a year, just kind of running the plain unbreakables, I did some research and I actually came across Zeta's, they have like an easy pull, quick adjust, like really trick lever for the clutch side. If I put that on, and dude, it's awesome. It basically underneath has like two places where you can install the cable, and one place will give you like a harder engagement. It's kind of more reflective of stock. And then another place is a little more like clutch feel type, so it's a little softer. Maybe it doesn't engage quite as hard. And I ride with a lot of guys who are riding KTMs or Huskies. They have the hydraulic clutch and they always bag on me. But then as soon as they feel this, they're like, hey, you know what, that's actually not bad. And then it's sweet too, because you got this like super trick adjustment lever, which is, yeah, awesome. One other thing actually, talking about clutch feel, it's, I'm gonna do a really bad job of explaining this, but basically I put washers on the inside of my like actual clutch bolts, and it's just is supposed to make your like clutch pull easier. And it's actually a noticeable difference. Maybe I'll do a separate video about exactly what I'm talking about, or if I can find the link that like kind of explains it, I'll put that in the description. But that's kind of the only other thing that I've done to ease clutch pull. Obviously with the hard enduro stuff, you're kind of always feathering and that sort of thing. Got my suspension done by Rider's Edge. They're based out of Vernon, British Columbia. It's probably been set up for hard enduro now for the last couple of months. Yeah, I just run a pretty soft compression setting and then just kind of play with the rebound a little bit to find something that I think works. I did actually go up in spring rate. I'm about 190 to 195 without gear. So we went up in the spring weight. I can, again, put that into the description maybe if I think of it. So yeah, other than that, I mean, I really don't touch it. I just kind of keep it maintained. I run the Works Connection rad guards. They're pretty light duty, honestly, for hard enduro stuff. Like this side actually is dented. This thing took like a serious digger with a whiskey throttle down the hill. And this side actually ended up not fully doing it. But honestly, I put these on really early when I got this bike. It's probably at like 250 to 300 hours now. And this was kind of a thing that happened like this summer. So if I can get 200 hours out of a bike and, you know, not really bang up my rads, like this rad is still fine. Yeah, the Works Connection ones are nice. They're just super low key and like low profile. I'll probably go with something more beefy like on my next bike, but I've been pretty stoked on these. An obvious other big thing is this big IMS tank. I just knew I wanted something that would allow me to race without being the guy that's like filling up 500 times throughout the race. And then also just be able to go on like big long missions. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of a little ugly, but it holds a lot of fuel, and it honestly, doesn't put a huge twanger in your seat. So overall, I've been pretty happy with this tank. I just have like a stock exhaust system. I kind of, again, coming off that idea of like, I want something that works really pretty good for everything. I know it's not going to be the best for any one thing. I try to be pretty like protective of my pipe. I'm conscious of it and not just like slamming my bike on stuff. I do my best to ride with some finesse and preserve things because I'm cheap. I run a Guts Racing kind of gripper ribbed seat. I honestly put this on just because when I went to all black plastics, the stock seat cover has some blue in it and it was throwing off the vibe. But then now that I've ridden with a seat with these ribs, like I don't know how much the gripper piece does, but dude, these ribs are so sick for hill climbing or kind of when you're like pivot turning and kind of dabbing and you almost kind of need to use your seat as a way to hold you onto the bike to a degree. This seat is amazing. And I used the Pulp MX code and was able to get this for like a pretty reasonable price and then just got it locally put on by an upholster in my hometown. I just have like a really slim, low profile Cycra skid plate. Where I ride mostly, like there's not a ton of rock, so it's mostly the biggest impacts you're taking are like off of trees and roots and stuff, so it's not super critical to have like this big, burly, beefy thing. I was running a big aluminum skid plate pipe guard combo. A couple of the drawbacks with that is obviously weight. It packs up with mud. And then the last thing is because it's aluminum, it just impacts your bike's kind of flex and feel. It's not as critical if like you're doing a bunch of hard enduro stuff and really slow speed stuff. But again, like I said, you know, you go to the track and it's a pain in the ass to take on and off. And so you leave it on, but then your bike doesn't work as good. I have the Fastway ankle saver pegs. When I first put these pegs on, it was when I was doing a lot of moto, but I almost wasn't doing enough moto to like be fully confident in myself. And so I put these on, they're like my squirrel-proof overshoot case guards. I think the stock YZ250 pegs are cool because they're really wide, but they're not necessarily sharp enough, and they're so wide that your foot kind of like slides and dances on top, and I couldn't get my foot to like lock in. And so I put the 10 millimeter little studs into these Fastway pegs, and yeah, they're awesome. I really, really like them. I also run them 10 millimeters lower, and when I first put them on, it was really weird. I was hard to like find my shift, find my brake, but once you get used to it, I now go back and if I ride like a stock bike or anyone else's bike, dude, it feels like I'm standing up on the seat. Like it feels like I'm so high and all crunched over, where these are just like, I don't know, it kind of brings your center of gravity down, so I run that. I've never really been big on like engine mods. I want my bike to run a long time with like 91 or 94 pump gas. So really the only upgrade that I've done to the engine is I have a V-Force reed in it. My shop had one in stock. I threw it on and it was like an instant notice, like, holy shit, this actually made a big difference. So I think engine-wise, if you're gonna do anything, I can't speak to like what a pipe and exhaust system will do, but that reed block, you definitely feel. So I'm really happy with that. And then the only other thing kind of internal that I've done is I have a GYTR heavier flyweight. Again, kind of for the off-road stuff. Just kind of gives that bike a little bit more tractoring ability. Other than those kind of two things, my engine's completely stock. I run Dominator, Amsoil Dominator for mixed fuel. I kind of, dude, I'm shitty at jetting and I don't jet. If anyone has like seen my stuff, my bike is constantly just like smashing smoke out the back. But I'm kind of been running it anywhere from 40 to 50 to 1. Kind of just playing with things. I don't know, it does what it needs to, but if you ask me like what jetting I have, I don't know, and I'm sorry. I, for a long time, was actually running Petrocan Dextron 6 in my clutch. It's like basically just a high quality ATF. Change it out maybe like every 5 hours or so and never really had clutch problems. I run a stock clutch, like plates and fibers. I just recently switched to the Yamalube transmission oil. I'm gonna try that out, see how it works. When I dropped the oil last time around that kind of like 5 to 6 hour mark, when it came out, it was actually still had like a golden hue. So that I think is really positive. So I'm interested to see what that looks like over this next season. I'm gonna just commit to trying that and see what it works like. But yeah, if you run like a good ATF, it definitely works well. Just make sure you're changing it out regularly. Going down kind of tires right now, I'm running just like kind of a hodgepodge. I just re-studded these, I got like a Dunlop MX52 in the front. It was cheap. And then I got like some Kenda in the back. A buddy of mine gave me a set of studded tires, but the knobs were ripping out, and I ended up pulling all the grip studs out and re-studding these tires. In the summer for tires, I'm running the Midas, not their super soft, but kind of their single green stripe on the front and the back. Was just trying to kind of find something that was a little more suited for the hard enduro stuff while not just immediately, you know, falling apart after like 3 rides. So that single stripe Midas I'm really stoked with, and it gives like a lot of traction. I run the tubeless system. Again, like I mentioned, I kind of ride a little bit of everything, even still now. The fact that if I want to go ride moto with people, I can bring it up to like 12, 13 PSI, not kind of get that sidewall roll. And then we go out, ride single track, hard enduro type stuff, and I'm down to like 4, 5, 6 PSI, kind of depending on where we're going. It's crazy when you combine like a good soft tire like that Midas single green stripe, I think it's like an EF07 or something, with these tubeless, you feel like a freaking rock star. So super stoked on the tubeless system. Maybe one day down the road, if you know, if I'm doing some sort of race where I like can't risk any sort of flat or puncture, I might go to a Moose just for that kind of reason. But for my day-to-day riding, like, dude, I love the tubeless system. Yeah, as far as gearing, I run a 50 tooth rear and a 13 in the front. And then I put an O-ring chain on like pretty much immediately. I just hate having to adjust my chain, and yeah, whatever, it takes a bit of power, but dude, ride once, reset it, and you pretty much never have to like adjust it again. I run like super not sexy, just Sunstar steel sprockets. Dude, I've had these sprockets on for like 2 years. It's crazy. Like, they just last. They don't look sweet, but whatever. Like, they do the trick. And yeah, I just want one tooth down. So when I'm riding single track stuff around here, can be like pretty flowy. If I'm riding at more of like a race pace or like a pace that we're kind of really going for it, I'll be like second and third. If I'm kind of just like cruising with people, I'll just stick in second, and kind of gives me that like torquey feel, and keeps my bike pretty predictable feeling. That's my YZ250. Thanks for checking it out. If you want to know anything more about any of these parts on my bike, I'd be stoked to kind of do some reviews, talk more in depth about certain things. I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to be like mad at myself that I did miss it, but that's all I got for now. So thanks for checking it out, and let me know if you want to see some other stuff in the comments. Yeah, see ya.